Hello there everyone, how you doing today? I hope you're all well. Today we're going into r/malicious compliance, where people get what they ask for, not necessarily what they want. Now if you enjoy, like, subscribe to my channel, and leave a comment down below with your thoughts. Now, let's get started, shall we? So, you're claiming I defrauded the company by booking an extra 3 minutes. Okay, no problem. I worked at a water company for 25 years and was one of their most productive repair crews. That is until the new manager, let's call him Mr. Numbnuts, started. We had a monthly rota where you were on call for 1 week in four for emergency repairs out of hours. On the day in question, I started work at 7:30 on a Friday and finished work at 3:15 on Saturday morning. So a pretty long-arsed shift. I get to work Tuesday morning and get called into the office by Mr. Numbnuts and informed that according to my vehicle tracker, I'd left the yard at 13:12 a.m. and not 13:15 a.m., which is an attempt to defraud the company. As you can imagine, I was absolutely fuming at this level of BS. I told him at the time I was covered in mud and sweat and just wanted to get home after completing a monster shift for the company, and he was genuinely making a poop storm over 3 measly minutes. He said he was making me aware that I could be fired for it. Cue malicious compliance. I said if we're going to be this petty, you can take me off the emergency contact list for extra coverage, and I won't be starting 20 minutes early each day either. I'll now be clocking in at exactly 7:30 a.m., and I shall be headed out at exactly 5:30 p.m. No deviation whatsoever. And you can explain to your bosses why productivity is down and why you are struggling to get coverage for emergencies. We'll then see how important your 3 minutes are when they are costing the company money. Little did I realize at the time, but the guy's job was bonus related and linked to our productivity, which tanked after that because all the other gangs followed my lead, except the brown-nosed gangs, obviously. 3 weeks go by with an absolute poop show in the customer service complaints about their work not being carried out in a timely manner. My productivity dropped from 7 jobs per day down to 4, and Mr. Numbnuts gets called in by his bosses and tries to explain what's going on. He tried to spin some BS story that I'd turned all the guys against him for no reason, and this was the result. Little did he know that I had actually trained his boss when he first started with the company 15 years before, and wanted to come out and find out what we do and experience how hard the job is. He surprised me by working a full month on the repair crews before going back to the office. Anyhow, the boss calls me in to find out what's really going on. So I explained how he'd used the tracker to monitor what time I left the yard, and that I'd guesstimated my finish time and overestimated by 3 little minutes, because I was absolutely knackered after working a shift from hell on call. The conclusion is the manager was let go for misuse of the tracking system, as it's only supposed to be used for emergencies and not monitoring, and we had our on-call system reviewed to cut the hours we were having to work. Oh, yes. You love to see it when malicious compliance goes as planned. Now, on to our next story, shall we? Oh, I'm on private property. My first time posting here. I used to work for a supermarket chain, and quite often I'd be asked by management to work at other locations. Most of the time, this wasn't a big deal. I was happy to help out. It gave me an excuse to drive and have the petrol paid for. However, one day I was asked to work at a location very far away, at a very early hour of the morning. I initially refused on the grounds that I have to wake up at around 2 a.m. in order to have a shower, breakfast, and drive to be on site for 5 a.m. After some arm bending from management, I finally relented and begrudgingly agreed that I would do it. Due to the drive not taking nearly as long as I initially expected, I arrived on location at about 4:30 a.m. I walked in with my car with the music playing. At 4:50 a.m., I get a loud knock on the car window, nearly making me jump out of my skin. It was the manager from that store who, never seeing me before, did not know who I was. The conversation went as follows.
You need to leave. This is private property.
Oh, but, and the manager interrupting,
I don't care. Go. No.
And me quickly realizing I can play this to my advantage. Oh, I'm so sorry, sir. I don't want any problems. Of course I'll go. Right away. So sorry. And as per his request, I drove home with a smile on my face, knowing I have the rest of the day free to myself. A few hours later, I get a phone call. I answer the unrecognized number and recognize the sound of the voice immediately. It was the manager who told me to leave.
Hello, yes, I'm looking for insert my name here.
Yeah, that's me.
This is insert manager name here, calling from insert location here. I was expecting you to work with me today. You should have been here for 5 a.m.
And me, trying to sound casual, yeah, I was there waiting in my car. You told me to leave, remember?
Manager's like, but you didn't say that.
And me interrupting. There are no ifs, ands, or buts. I was on private property, and I was asked to leave. I was legally obliged to do so.
Right, but don't you think...
It doesn't matter what I thought. I was asked to leave private property. I'm not going to break the law and risk getting in trouble with the police now, am I? It was at this point he hung up on me. I expected to get in trouble for what happened, but I never heard anything else about it. This was a few years back now, too. It's one of my favorite stories to tell. I hope you enjoyed it. And now for our final story for the day. Give me a parking spot for a spot I paid for? Oh, I dare you to. About 10 or so years ago, I went to a concert an hour away from me in Indianapolis. Decided to make it a day of going to several museums and spots around the city, each time paying for parking in a garage for 2 or so hours, then going to meander around the area. Finally, I go park close to the venue and paid for parking until the time I was free. Total, I probably paid $40 to $50 for parking throughout the day. I enjoyed the concert, but I came back to a parking ticket on my car. I think, this is odd, but I am tired and chalk it up to a mistake. But I decided to take photos of my parking spot. Both spots on either side were taken, and all the signage, and head home for the evening, figuring I would sort it out in the morning. The next morning I reviewed the ticket, the photo of my spot, and the parking receipt. The ticket did not line up with my spot my car was located in, and my receipt shows I had valid parking at the time of the ticket. So I submitted an appeal, thinking this'll be easy. It's obvious a mistake was made. Oh, the appeal was denied. The ticket was for the spot that was not paid for, ergo it stood. I called the office, and the lady said they did not make a mistake as my receipt showed that I paid for insert spot X1 and the ticket was for spot X. I asked about photo proof that my spot was in car 1X. She said, well, you could have moved the car. No, the parking receipt included my license plate number and everything. Think Park Mobile-like system. I noted that there were cars and spots on either side of me and that the entire street was full because of the concert. And honestly, I don't think they bothered to look at the photo. Even had that not been the case, I had proof that the license plate had a paid parking spot. No matter what, no dice. I'm feeling petty over this $25 parking ticket at this point, so I called Visa and asked if I could retract the amount I paid for the time that I had parked since it didn't count. I submitted all the evidence and documentation to Visa. Visa, and what was the greatest thing Visa has ever done in my opinion. They agreed that if my parking receipt and transaction number wasn't proof I had paid for parking, then clearly I had paid for a service I did not receive, and they extended my initial request of canceling the one transaction to include all the parking spots I had paid for through that system that day, valued at more than the parking ticket. Then they filed a formal complaint on my behalf with a letter explaining why they were refunding me. It would not have been nearly as satisfying if I had not spent the entire day playing tourist in the city and racking up a rather large parking bill, all with the same vendor. Okay, people, I hope you enjoyed my stories. Remember to like, subscribe, leave a comment below, and maybe check out my playlist. I have good stories on there. And I'll see you all next time. Hasta la pasta.